Hello and welcome back to Race Recap. My name is Jackson. Last weekend we had the Xfinity drivers and the Cup drivers racing at a road course. It's Road America in Earhart Lake, Wisconsin. Now, let's take a look at the track description. It's a very long, over a four and a half miles thereabout road course. So for stock cars, that's long, over 2 minutes a lap takes around here. So you'll notice that some of these laps, it's just a 45 event for the Xfinity series, which doesn't seem like a lot, but at a long road course like this, it is a lot, and you can tell it was action-packed. They started out early with a spin, landing Castle, and I'll point out this corner right here. Down here, you see turn number 5. It's a sharp, almost 90-degree right-hander up or left-hander up a little hill. And if you go off, you might get into the tire wall. So you'll see a couple guys, like Castle, spin out to avoid that in the gravel trap. And then again, at the top of the hill after turn 5 and turn 6, you saw the road course ringer, Andy Lally, who driving the '08 car for SS Greenlight. He got into the 23 of Anthony Alfredo after wheel hopping it down into the corner, and they both went spinning. The first full course caution was for Alfredo's teammate at Our Motorsports. The 02 of Brett Moffitt got off into the gravel in turn 5 and nosed it into the tire wall. And that took him into stage 1, which went to Kyle Larson. He was a Cup driver, of course, Cup champion last year, driving for Hendrick Motorsports. We haven't seen Hendrick Motorsports in over 10 years, I believe, in the Xfinity Series, so glad to see them back. And they were in the number 17 Chevrolet. And then there was no caution. Sam Mayer got off in turn number 5 after a little bit of help. He was on the outside line, the curbing there with his right tires, and that just, you lose grip when you're on the curb, like driving on ice, and he spun off and made a little contact with the outside wall. Then they went to the end of stage 2, which went to Kyle Larson. And then you see the third full course caution on that restart, an absolute pile up. It all started really a lap before the accident. The 45, one of the 2 Alpha Prime cars driven by Sage Karam this weekend, an IndyCar driver actually, he was battling it out with the 9 and Noah Gragson. They were beating and banging. And in turn number 1 on the accident lap, they were really fighting it out, making big door contact with each other. Gregson actually threw his hand out the window, expressing displeasure with Karam. And then when they went side by side down the straight, it was a straightaway. At this straightaway right here, exiting turn number 3, you see no turns really in this whole stretch here. And Gregson kind of just turned right into Sage Karam, who was on his right side. And then I think it was out of a little bit of a frustration after he could not get by him and Karam kept getting into the back of him. And he collected everyone behind him. As Karam went spinning off into the dirt, into the inside wall, he made a dust cloud and nobody could see as you were coming over. There's a little hill that you have to crest there, and people were spinning out and hitting everyone. Landon Castle got hit by his colleague teammate Daniel Hemrick in the 11. Castle was then hit hard in the passenger side by Mike Snyder, so hard Castle's rear tires actually went flying off the ground. Back behind this, the 48, Tyler Reddick, in a new car this weekend, was hit equally hard by the 68 of Brandon Brown. Brown actually injured in this crash, had to sit down after he got out of the car. Fortunately, he got back up a little later and was okay. And then back behind this as well, after Gregson went spinning, John Hunter Nemechek in the 26 got off into the inside wall there with Brett Moffitt in the 02. And the other Alpha Prime car, the 44 of Josh Blakey, got off and collected one of the Sargento cheese signs. Fortunately, that didn't get much damage to his nose, and he could continue on. And the 08 of Andy Lally also got hit when the 31 of Mike Snyder came onto the track with the 68 of Daniel Hemrick. After those hard hits, nobody could see, and Lally went spinning in the 08. And I can tell you right now, as we're filming this, I know Noah Gragson has been docked 30 points in the playoffs and was given a fine of $35,000 for causing this accident and getting lots of damages to many teams. So the commentary box was talking about how has to make sure these emotions don't show every weekend, because you never know, it could collect a lot of cars, and in this instance it really did. So when they got back going after that huge crash, there was no caution. Josh Blakey, who was involved in that in the 44 car, spun out in the final turn, that light right-hander up a steep hill, and he was able to continue on, though, after a little bit of damage. And then a lot of damage happened to the 35 car of Chris Dyson. He was coming down into Canada Corner. I think he wheel hopped it, possibly had a little bit of a brake issue, hit the inside wall, and then slid off through the gravel, ending his day. He was in the number 35 car, that is. And then there was no caution when the 18, Sammy Smith, making his first career Xfinity start. You may know him from the Arca Menard series, rising up just like Ty Gibbs did. And he unfortunately was caught up in this incident when he went spinning. And Miguel Paludo in the 88, one of the fifth cars for JR Motorsports, hit the back of the 36 of Alex Labbe. And Paludo had to retire the car after this with some nose damage, possibly busted the radiator. And then there was no caution on the 38, Patrick Gallagher, in it this weekend. And he went spinning off track. And then the fifth and final caution, which sent this race into overtime, was brought up when the 07, driven by Cole Custer this weekend, spun off and down in turn number 5, possibly a brake issue. There was no good replay of the accident, but either way, he had big damage, and NASCAR had no choice but to throw the caution. And it looked like it was going to be Kyle Larson running away with it until they had to go to overtime, and Ty Gibbs on the final lap was able to get by Larson very cleanly, didn't have to use the bumper at all, and I think that showed how good this guy is, Ty Gibbs, able to get by a Cup champion without even using the bumper. Again, it was a very clean pass. So, the top 10 here were Ty Gibbs, followed by Kyle Larson, then Josh Berry, Austin Hill, Brandon Jones, AJ Allmendinger, Riley Herbst, Noah Gregson, Jeremy Clements, who won here a couple years ago, and Ryan Sieg ran out of top 10. Bunch of DNFs in this race. Sammy Smith had engine problems, possibly that's why he spun out. Cole Custer was out for the accident, along with Miguel Paludo. Sheldon Creed had engine difficulties as well. Chris Dyson was out for the accident, along with Daniel Hemrick, Tyler Reddick, Sage Karam, Landon Castle, Mike Snyder, Brandon Brown, and Brett Moffitt. And then Joe Graff Jr., who was in the 5 car, of course, is usually in the 07. He had brake issues. And then it was a header issue for Ty Dillon in the number 6. Usually we see Ryan Vargas. He was trying to enter the field in the Mike Harmon number 47. Did not make the race, though. And then the 13 of Will Rogers, a road course veteran. He had suspension issues early on in number 13. The next day, it was a little more tame in the Cup race on the 4th of July weekend. So the 62 laps, pretty uneventful for a road course. There was no caution in turn number 5. The 18 of Kyle Busch spun off, and the 10 car of Eric Almirola had to go wide to avoid the spinning 18. Then the first caution was a Stage 1 winner, Chase Briscoe, always good on these road courses. Then there was no caution. Joey Logano in the 22 went spinning with the 23 of Bubba Wallace. The second caution, the Stage 2 winner, Ryan Blaney. There was no caution. Bubba Wallace off track again, and this time into the gravel down in turn number 1, was able to get it fired up, though, and out of the kitty litter, as they call it. And then there was no caution. Brad Keselowski went off in the high-speed kink area and was able to save it from hitting the wall. He did actually hit the wall a little bit, but was able to continue on with minimal damage. And how about this? The checkered flag in this race went to the 8 of Tyler Reddick, was able to get past and hold off the 9 of Chase Elliott, who we all know is very good on road courses. And Tyler Reddick has got his first career win in the Cup Series down at Road America. So the top 10 here were Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez, his teammate, then Chris Buescher, Austin Cindric, Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger, and Kevin Harvick rounded out top 10. Austin Dillon had brake issues very late in the race, and it was down in turn 5 where he pulled off. Possibly did that because Reddick, his teammate at RCR, didn't want to bring out a caution and cause a late race restart. Bubba Wallace also had brake issues, and Loris Hesmans, we don't see that car very often. Hesburg Motorsports, the 27 Ford, unfortunately out with fuel pump issues. Well, that's all for Race Recap. Come join us next week when we have the Truck Series on a road course at Mid-Ohio, and the Xfinity and the Cup are on the 1.5 Mile Super Speedway. That's at Atlanta.